If you're a coach making somewhere between $20,000 and $50,000 a month, I want you to think about something for a second. You have the offer, you have the results, and you probably have a pretty decent following. But every month feels like it's starting from zero. You're on calls all day. You're doing fulfillment. You're putting out content, and somehow the revenue still looks like it did 6 months ago. Most people will tell you that that's an issue with your offer, or maybe an issue with your pricing, or maybe an issue with your posting routine. But it's none of those things. I've worked with coaches and consultants who've generated millions in revenue, and I've seen this exact pattern over and over again. The offer is fine. The person is good at what they do. What's missing is that thing that sits between the content and the calendar. The actual machine that takes a stranger and turns them into a paying client without you manually having to push every single one through. In this video, I'm going to give you the entire system, start to finish. The same one I run with every client, including the one that took a business from $18K a month to over $440,000 in just 2.5 months. I am holding nothing back. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Before we get into any of this, there's something that I need to address with you, because if I don't, none of this is going to land the right way. The vast majority of coaches think their problem has something to do with acquisition. They think they need more leads, more followers, and also need to post more content. So that's where they put all of their energy into. More posting, more ads, and of course, more outreach. But when I come into these businesses doing somewhere between 20 to 50K per month, the leads are almost always never the actual issue. What's really happening is that there's no effective system present between the front-end content and someone closing the prospect on the calls. There's no tracking, so nobody actually knows what's going on. There's no real sales process. It's whoever's available hopping on a call and winging it. And there's no automation, so everything relies on somebody remembering to follow up. What you need is what I call the full stack operating system. It's everything working together, so a stranger finding your content has a clear, tracked, and repeatable path all the way to becoming a client, and you can actually see where that path is breaking. So how do I figure out what's actually broken in somebody's business? Before I ever take somebody on, there's one conversation that tells me almost everything. I ask how many leads are coming in right now versus a few months ago, because if something's changed, that is a huge clue. I ask what their show rate is, what their close rate is, what their booking rate is. I ask if they have legitimate testimonials and results from past clients, because if they don't, that is a massive red flag. They're either not being honest with me about who they've worked with, or fulfillment is so bad that clients don't even want to give them testimonials. There's also a thing I look for early on that most people miss completely: how somebody shows up on the very first call before we've even talked about the price or about the business. If somebody skips past all the small talk and just wants to get straight to the point, that tells me something. The clients who are open, who want to build a relationship with me, who ask thoughtful questions, are almost always the ones the system works incredibly well for. However, the ones who come in with a wall up, a high ego, and they're convinced they don't really need help but booked a call with me anyways, those are almost always impossible to actually help, no matter how good the system is. I will always be completely honest with somebody if I think they're not the right fit. I'd rather tell somebody up front than take their money and not be able to deliver. Now, once I know where the real bottleneck is, the engagement runs through 4 phases, and I'm going to walk you through each one of these. Now, the first one is the audits and the game plan. This is where I hammer in their ICP. I send over 2 different ICP forms and have them write out their offer in their own words in deep detail. From there, I go and do market research on their actual competitors, what's working in their space, what isn't, and I build an entire game plan for them for the next few months that's specific to their unique offer. This has nothing to do with being a generic template. It's extremely unique and specific to them, as is everything I do with each of my clients. Now, the second thing is the backend build. And this is the part that nobody sees, but it's the part that makes everything completely possible and makes it work. Once I've got their software logins, we start building out Zapier automations or things with N8N, so leads flow automatically from wherever they come in, straight into the CRM, straight into Slack, without anyone manually moving anything. We set up the entire ecosystem in Slack. This is where all of our team members communicate. We have separate channels for sales, for setters, for closers, for operations, for performance, for new clients being onboarded, for new calls being booked, for new reps being onboarded. For everything, we have a Slack channel for where we can track every single metric and notification that goes on in the business the second that it happens. We automate daily reports, but at the end of the day, recaps get posted into Slack so everybody, including the client as well, can see exactly what's happening in the business in real time without anybody having to compile a report. We built the full CRM from scratch with custom pipelines, custom activities, lead stages, automated follow-ups, and task reminders, so no lead ever just sits there going cold. Every single form submission, every single contract, and every single payment feeds directly into this custom CRM. And we build a live tracking dashboard with Cloud Code showing booked calls, show-up rate, close rate, cash collected, revenue projections, all of it updating automatically. This is the piece that lets every single decision after this point be based on actual data instead of somebody's gut feeling. Now, phase 3 is marketing and scaling. This is where we build up the actual funnel, not just some kind of link in bio, but an actual structured path. Pre-call education, objection handling videos that play before somebody ever gets on a call with you, so by the time they're talking to a rep, most of the selling has already happened. This, of course, is unique with VSL funnels, but this can also happen with webinar funnels. Now, this is also where the offer itself gets refined if it needs it. We look at the current offer, the pricing, the deliverables, and tighten up the positioning so it's crystal clear what somebody's paying for and why it's worth it. Then, content and the ad strategy get built around that refined offer, attracting the exact ICP we mapped out for in phase 1. Now, I want you to notice the order here, right? It's systems first, then marketing. This is where almost everybody in this space gets it backwards. They pour more traffic into a business that has no actual way to convert or handle that traffic. And then they wonder why nothing is changing. Now, phase 4 is the sales team build out. And depending on the business, this can run alongside phase 3. This is sourcing, this is vetting, and this is onboarding dedicated setters, ideally full cycle closer. Every single rep gets trained specifically on the client's offer, the ICP that we identified, and the objections that actually come up, not just some kind of generic sales training with basic structured frameworks. We build up the scripts, the rebuttals, and the objection handling framework specific to that offer, and every rep operates inside the CRM with full visibility into the pipeline and their numbers. On top of that, we run a check-in system. I call it green, yellow, red. Green means things are running smoothly, yellow means something's starting to slip and needs attention, and red means that it's urgent and needs to be dealt with immediately. This applies to clients and to team members, and it's how we make sure nothing gets unnoticed until it becomes a real problem. Now, I want to show you what all 4 of these phases actually looked like for a real client, because it's one thing to hear a framework, but it's another thing to see how it plays out with real numbers. When Clavicular came to me, he was doing around $18,000 a month. He had a legit offer, he had real results already, and he had some kind of real audience. He had about 80K followers at the time. But there was zero tracking, no funnel whatsoever, no real sales process, and the automations that did exist were broken and were basically doing nothing. Phase 1 was the audience. I went through that same diagnostic conversation, and what came back was crystal clear. This had nothing to do with acquisition whatsoever. He already had the followers, he had the people interested. The issue was everything after that. Phase 2 was our backend build. Before we even touched marketing at all, we fixed the sales process and wrote brand new SOPs for his sales team. Then we built out the full CRM, the tracking, the Slack infrastructure, the automations, literally all of it. Phase 3 and 4 happened together. Once the backend could actually support more volume, we built up the funnel and refined the offer positioning. And at the same time, we hired a bunch more people. Now, contrary to what most people might think, the single biggest jump in our revenue did not come from some kind of clever ad or viral piece of content, but it came from getting the right people into the right seats on top of a system that could actually support them. And in 2.5 to 3 months, Clavicular went from $18K a month to over $440,000. That's a 24x increase in revenue. This had nothing to do with the offer changing because we did that later. And this was not suddenly because he became an internet celebrity, but it's because the infrastructure finally matched what he'd already built. The full stack operating system is not for everybody. I would rather you know now if it's for you or not, so we don't waste your time or mine. This is not a magic fix for somebody with no offer and no results yet. Everything I just described in this video is a multiplier. There has to be something legit already there to multiply in the first place. What I just described is for coaches and consultants who already have a working offer, proof, a good audience, but feel like they've hit a ceiling they just can't explain. They've got decent 5 figures a month, but they're stuck in the day-to-day operations with no systems, no clear next step, and revenue that goes up and down with no real pattern, and honestly, not enough time left over for anything else in their life. If that's you, everything I just walked through is probably hitting a little bit close to home, and that's exactly the point. So that is the entire system start to finish. Diagnose where the real bottleneck is, whether that's acquisition, conversion, or fulfillment. Build the backend so the path from content to client is clear and tracked. Build the funnel and refine the offer on top of that. Then put the right people in place to run it. Is it flashy? No. It's not. But there's no secret hack in here. It's the difference between a business that feels like it's constantly starting over and one that actually compounds month over month. If you're sitting here thinking this sounds like exactly where I'm at, that's exactly the conversation I want to have. You can book a call with me and my team with a link in the description below. And I'll walk you through exactly what's going on in your business and what I'd fix first. And if you're not there yet, that's totally fine too. Make sure you subscribe because I'm breaking down exactly how each piece of this works in the next coming videos, including the full story with clavicular in a lot more detail. That's all for me. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.